What's up, y'all? I don't know how to start out this video or anything like that, so I'm just gonna get straight to the point. I want to tell you guys a story about my past relationship that I had, and I'm gonna tell you the goods, the bad, and the funny parts. So I'm gonna start off with the good parts. The woman that I was dating, she was 30 years old, and she texted me first, and she said, "Hey," and I said, "Hey." And then she said, "How you doing?" I said, "I'm doing okay. I'm just watching TV, doing my thing. I'm just chilling." And then she had asked me. Then she said, "I like your picture." Yeah, she said, "I like your picture." I said, "Thank you." I said, "Do you want it?" She said, "Ha ha ha, no." And then as you know, we had to start talking about hobbies and all this other stuff, like what originally happens. So then we had end up exchanging like numbers and social media, all that stuff. So we had ended up starting. Then she had texted me again, and then we had started talking on the phone for about hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. So then everything was going good at first, and then fast forward to about 2 weeks later or a week later, if I don't really remember correctly, and we got into our first argument, our very first argument about something so small. Honestly, I forgot what it was. So I don't know. So then next, we was arguing. So we was arguing for about what, an hour or two. So then next thing you know, we stopped talking for about what, 2 days, 3 days, whatsoever. And then next thing you know, she had ended up texting me. Then she had ended up texting me again, and I told her I was sorry, even though I didn't do anything wrong. So I texted her sorry. She said, "Why you take so long to text back?" She said, "Do you have a wife and child?" I said, "Lady, I'm 21 years old." I'm not gonna tell you her name, but I said, "Lady, I'm 21 years old." I said, "Why would I have a wife and child this early in my life? Why would where I could sit here and I could do something with myself instead of just settling down this early?" I said, "You're older than I am. Why you have settled down? Why are you talking to somebody that's just like what what 9, 8 years younger than you?" I think she was like, no, she was not 30. She was 31. My bad. She was 31 years old. So then next, she said, "Oh, you are married." She said, "You are married. You gotta have a wife and kids. You sitting there and you hiding it from me and all this other stuff." So I sat here. I sent her a photo of both my hands. I said, "What do you see a ring at?" And I then next, she said. Then next, she said, "Oh yeah, you do. You just took it off." Yada yada yada. And then next, I'm sitting here listening to her talk. So I did these to her. I did these to her. I did that soccer PK. We need to talk type of reaction to her. And next thing you know, fast forward, I think around a month later or whatsoever. I think it was no, it was earlier this year. It was earlier this year around February, and she had ended up blocking me. She had ended up removing me off everything, and then next thing you know, she had ended up adding me back and unblocking me all the other stuff. Then we had started talking again, and then next thing we got to an argument hours later, and then next thing she sit here. She called my mom fat, which my mom is not fat at all. She said, what else did she say? She said, damn, I forgot what else she said. She said, "Oh, you have a wife." Then she brought up the wife thing again. Telling us, "So you have a wife and all this stuff." I said, "How we went from liking each other to hating each other?" So then next, she started calling me names and all this other stuff. And then I was like, "Bro, are you serious?" And then next, she was like, "Yeah." And then next, she said, "Oh, we could be friends, or we can um whatsoever." Like I said, I forgot half of this stuff. So then next, she start arguing again. Mind you, I'm sitting here as chill as a goose. And next thing she know, she ended up arguing. I'm not trying to argue. I'm sitting there trying to talk to her calmly, mind you, calmly, mind you. So then next thing you know, I said, and then next thing you know, what's going through my mind, I was like, dog, I'm sitting here talking to a 30-year-old woman. So I'm sitting here like I'm hyping stuff by talking to her at first. So I'm hyped. I said, oh yeah, I'm talking to a 30-year-old woman. I said a 21-year-old. I said a 20-year-old boy. So I'm talking to a 30-year-old. I said, I must be doing something right. So I stepped. So I tested the waters a little bit to see if this was good, like everybody else said. So I tested the waters, found out it was the most worst decision I had ever made, bro. I had ever made. And then as you know, we had end up. Then She had end up saying 88 or something like that. I don't know what that means, and I don't know what that means in terms of texting or whatsoever, or talking or whatsoever. But she said 88. Your mom fat. You this, that, and the third. And then next, she had end up blocking me and all this other stuff. I wasn't even mad. I was just laughing because this is the first woman. This is the first 30-year-old woman I talked to, and I thought the experience was gonna be great. I'm not gonna lie. I thought I was gonna have me a little, like a little. I don't know if I could say this on YouTube. I thought I was gonna have me like a little sugar mama or something like that, take care of me or whatsoever. Found out it was just a disaster. So next thing you know, she ended up blocking me or whatsoever. But I end up then I think months later, I had ended up talking to another 30-year-old woman. Boy, if y'all want to hear that next, I'm going to sit here and spill the whole thing for y'all. But make sure if you do see this video, if you watch all the way to the end, like, comment, subscribe, because this next one I'm going to tell you guys about, boy, y'all going to have a ball. And then after that, it's a third one. But anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next one.